Hello everyone, this is Steve with the Free Bullion Investment Guide. Today is August 3rd, and I'm doing a review and outlook price analysis video for silver. This is silver's 4-hour chart, and to quickly review last week's video, I had shown you first off this very large rising expanding wedge. It is a large pattern. I didn't really put a whole lot of relevancy in it in last week's video. It does have more relevancy now because of the latest movement of silver from last week. However, it still will be at least, I would say, a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks before it even comes close to this level, this bottom trend line. I would say definitely over a week. We have seen dramatic moves up in the price of silver. We could quite honestly see a dramatic move down. However, there is a lot of uncertainties in the market, and those uncertainties should keep the price of silver above $16 at least for the week ahead. But again, we'll really have to see what happens as far as the outlook. Let me show you or review last week's other two patterns I'd shown you. This rising wedge here and this falling expanding wedge. Now the rising wedge is a negative pattern, and the falling expanding wedge is a positive pattern. Now really what happened last week is exactly opposite of what I stated was going to happen. However, both patterns were confirmed, so it's I was wrong, but the patterns were right, I guess you could say. The pattern, the falling expanding wedge, was broken to the upside. I had instead of thought that the price of silver was going to fall through the rising wedge until Jerome Powell came out with his announcement that they were going to cut rates, and then I expected the price of silver to rise, breaking the falling expanding wedge. But instead, the price traveled along the bottom trend line of the rising wedge, confirming the falling expanding wedge to the upside. And then after the announcement by the Fed, the rising wedge was confirmed to the downside. And the reasons behind the fall in price and the opposite way of what I was thinking to expect with the price of silver was really what traders were expecting was for the Fed to come out and state that this is only going to be the beginning of rate cuts, that we were expected to see more being announced in the future, or at least the setup for them to be announced in the future. But really, the Fed basically said this is a one-time thing, that they're not going to cut rates in the future, that this is just to help matters because of the trade war. I also think that it's a possibility that we saw the price of silver drop was because when the Fed drops rates in any economy, whether, well, they only drop rates usually in a bad economy, and they drop them to bring the market up. And whenever the market goes up, silver and gold go down. Silver and gold are insurance for your money. And when there are less uncertainties in the market, gold and silver come down. And that is one thing that the rate cut was supposed to do, bring more uncertainties out of the market. So that could be another reason why we saw the price of silver come down. We'll really have to see how those two scenarios come out and see which one comes out to be true. Also, at the end of the week, we had the price of silver and gold, for that matter, rise in price, and that was mostly due to the fact that Trump stated that that he's going to raise tariffs on China at the end of the month. And I really think it's a negotiating factor or tool. We'll really have to see if that's going to happen. I mean, it's a month away. So, but it brings more uncertainty into the market, and that's the reason why the stock market's been falling over the last 2 days, and silver and gold, insurance for your money, have been rising over the last 2 days. So that takes care of the review from last week. As far as for the outlook for silver, we have a new falling wedge inside the much larger rising expanding wedge. So this is a positive pattern. The price of silver is expected to rise to the upside to break it and confirm it. We do have, it is sitting at support at 16.20, and it also has strong support at $16, as well as it has resistance at 16.60. Now the MACD is showing that we should see the price turn to the upside, and the RSI is showing that it is in basically neutral territory. Let's take a look real quick just to see what the daily chart is showing. The daily chart is showing that we could see more downside before we turn to the upside. So we could easily, let me move back to the 4-hour chart, we could easily trade down before we start to move back up and confirm this pattern. So again, for the week to come, we'll really have to see what happens. We're getting mixed messages out of the indicators, but I do expect this pattern to be broken to the upside, confirming it sometime in the week to come. So I thank you for your time. Take care, and God bless.